I'd like to talk to you about the masks, about the character that we created, that we always think that it's us, but in fact, our thought patterns, which are also related with our emotions, are not us. I have explained in the previous video that our thought patterns and how we interpret our lives are not only related with our culture and at the same time with the lessons that we receive from our parents, and at the same time the emotions that we gather. Like, this has been a process in the whole evolution of humankind, right? Let's say if you're part of a northern society, or even if you're a Latin American like I am, then you have inherited some belief systems that come from your society. You either can believe it or not, but you usually, if you haven't got self-inquiry and you haven't seen, why do I keep repeating the same situations? Why do I always feel bad about this? And you will come to a conclusion that you're not only living in your head and you're living in suffering, which is so related with your thoughts, but that you're living in autopilot. You've been just receiving the things that come to your life without any reasoning, and the reasoning, I'm not thinking about the mind, but without any deep observation of yourself. And when I talk about a deep observations of ourselves, I'm not only talking about our thought patterns. You can even go to a therapist, right? You can go to a therapist and he will tell you of different things that can work definitely for you. But on the other hand, you will keep having yourself the rest of the time. Let's say I have 1 hour of the therapy, but then I have all the rest of the time with myself, with those voices that I have within myself. Whenever I realize that the one that is thinking is not me, you are the one who observes the patterns, because you're listening. Who's the one who listens to that voice, right? And it has happened to me, maybe to you as well, that you were doing something and you said, oh, what we're going to do? Who are we? How many of us do we have inside? If you realize that there's a lot of different personalities within yourself, which are our egos, which are parts of ourselves, how we develop these different personalities according to different situations, which are related to our belief systems, then if you are in silence, you can realize you're none of them. And that will give you the most important thing that you will need throughout your whole life, which is perspective, which is developing your feminine side as well, and allowing yourself, your real self, to feel. It's like we were disconnected from here to here, and you forgot that you are a whole, complete being who understands, who communicates with the world, and who feels. This is the game of our minds, the duality that makes us believe that our neocortex, prefrontal area, it's us. But when you come to silent spaces, you start to realize that maybe you have been a puppet of your mind, that maybe you have acted against life just because your mind told you a few things that were not so related about how you were feeling. Let's say, for instance, in my case, I usually used to do things against life and even against myself, because my mind was saying, hey, you should go this spot, you should go to this spot, you should go to this spot. But on the other hand, my heart, my body was rejecting so much a situation. What I like to offer you in this video, it's a way for us to stop relating so much with our minds. It doesn't mean that you are going to hate your mind now, that you're going to hate your thought patterns. It's that you're going to stop getting attached to your thoughts. Because I've realized recently that we talk a lot about attachment styles. We talk about how to get rid of our attachment to either things or food or drugs or people or whatever. And then we haven't realized that, what are you doing all the time? You're thinking, right? What are the things that you are attached the most, that you are attached the most? If you were not thinking, would you be doing these things? If you were not thinking, would you be even thinking about this guy, about this situation, about whatever? Actually not, right? We are so afraid to stop thinking that we just let our minds keep talking and talking and talking and talking in ways to stop her from thinking and from moving itself. We have this big discussion within ourselves. My discovery, which is going to be so simple in here, it's to tell you that you don't have to get unattached from everything. Whenever we want to be right, first of all, there's not even wait. I really love this scene from Friends. I don't know if I can share this throughout YouTube, so I'm not sure, but that's a good episode, like from one of the first seasons of Friends, in which Phoebe has a quarrel, or she has a discussion with Ross, in which Ross wants to argument that he is like this anthropologist and he knows all the stuff, and then we were, as human beings, we're following the evolution, right? As Newton said, that we were having the evolution. And she just said to him, Phoebe, she's my favorite character of Friends, she just told him, are you completely sure, 100%, that your theory is true? You can say that it's not even a hardest slightest chance for it to be wrong? That maybe in this whole vast universe there's no other way, that you're completely certain that what you're saying is truth? The only one that wants us to be right, that thinks that is right, and that loses all of its existence when it's not right, is the ego. Because the only way it can prove itself, it's by continue quarreling and wanting to be right. That's why a lot of people that has a big ego are the ones that are afraid to change and say, I'm not supposed to change. That's even related with inner unconscious patterns that are making you think that you were rejected as your real self when you were a child, and then you are following a pattern in which you are against everyone that says that you should change. But deep within, the thing that really hurts you is that you were not accepted as your real self, which was your real self when you were a kid. Since we were not educated to understand and at the same time to feel and have emotional awareness, a lot of us try to sedate or control our emotions, when in fact our emotional system, our emotional body, it's the one that within our bodies is the one that communicates us the most how we are in real life. Because your mind can say, oh no, I'm not feeling this, and I'm gonna forget, I'm going to pretend whatever, or say things that whatever, but your body is feeling that. And when you don't pay attention to your body is going to show you, even if you want it or not, through a physical process. Maybe it's time for acceptance. Maybe it's time for us, for you and to me, to accept that we are not right. Maybe it's time for us to stop listening to our thought patterns, come to the silence, breathe, feel our bodies, feel our sensations, and then realize that maybe we are going against life. Life, which comes through our breath, always wants the best for us. Whenever we are not feeling good, whenever we are feeling any types of suffering, which are related not only with pain, with shame, with grief, all the stress and discomfort that we feel, whenever we are feeling that, we are going against life. Maybe we are pretending something, we are believing that we are thoughts, and therefore we are not listening to our emotions. And on the other hand, we are acting against life. We are acting against life, trying to force things, or at the same time pretending that we are not feeling certain ways. Even though if that can happen unconsciously, we are continue following this wheel of suffering, and we are continue to follow this wheel in which we are cheating ourselves, we are sabotaging ourselves. And the truth is that deep within ourselves, we know that we are sabotaging ourselves. But then we have this mind that creates a lot of dialogues and says a lot of things and even control us, when the mind is actually a tool, a wonderful tool for practical purposes, but not for the purposes of life. Mind was created in a survival mechanism of the humans to try to survive. It's a survival mechanism. When you realize you're a whole being and stop listening to your thoughts, that's why there's a lot of people, even Einstein, all the sportsmen and investigators that have realized that whenever you are in silence is when actually the real inspiration comes, which is the flow state. A real and unwavering acceptance that maybe we are not going to the right path. And the suffering is actually the key to tell, that is trying to teach us and to tell us that we are not following the right path, that we are not following the function that we are supposed to be doing or having in this world, in this universe. Because when you're following your inspiration through life, you are automatically happy in all situations of your life. But whenever you are feeling bad, but at the same time you're pretending by smoking, or you're pretending by saying ha 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 ha, with this toxic positivity, the only thing that you're doing is actually betraying yourself. And that's even worse than anything. If we make a stop and realize that we've been trying to force a lot of things in our lives, or we're trying to pretend, then we are going to realize that this is a character. I have said to many friends that, oh, maybe you are fake. I realized that I was fake. But when I'm saying I'm fake, or you were fake, or I was fake, and of course there should be so many ways in which we are still fake with ourselves, because there are a lot of unconscious patterns within ourselves as well. What I mean is that we are not following our hearts. Our hearts are the best way and the best parameter to tell us that if you're good, if we are good in a situation or not. But there's a lot of things that how we can realize that we are feeling from the heart and not from our hormones, which is something very important to say. When you're feeling from your heart, not only from your hormones, you are not in a rush, because you're in a calm state and you realize that just by being you, that you are really fine, that you are already fine, that you are not fighting against anything. Whenever actually there's a lot of people that believes that pleasure is happiness. Pleasure, it's just a contrary, this dual word with pain. Everything that has a lot of pleasure with the time starts having a lot of pain. So the real happiness is not pleasure, because that's related with your hormones. The real happiness is peace. Whatever that gives you peace and you feel warm and peace within yourself, that's the real happiness. If you are in a situation that you have like this unstoppable thought patterns and repetitive thought patterns, and your mind cannot stop talking, or at the same time you're using anything to sedate or control your emotions, only paying attention to this part of yourself, which is just a really tiny part of the whole big universe, then maybe you are not following the right function you came this world to have. It's hard for our ego to realize that first we are not right. It's hard for our ego to realize that actually we are part of something that is way bigger, and like ants, we are following a function. We can be individuals and can be different, but at the same time we are part of a whole, we are part of a one, we are part of all that is. And we all are all that is. It's hard for our ego to do that, because it wants to control everything. Whenever you use acceptance, the ego disappears. How can I know if I'm not accepting something? When I'm suffering, it's just a tiny part, because the real life doesn't suffer. Maybe I am afraid to be myself. Then the one that is afraid is my ego. The one that has these emotions, these thought patterns, it's actually not my real self. It's my ego. This is just a short video in which I have and I wanted to share it, in which I myself have realized that in several moments of my life, which is what actually made me change in my life, I said, you know what? The real truth is that none of us want to continue suffering. There's a moment in your life for real when is the last drop that you realize you don't want to continue suffering. And when you have a consciousness expansion, it's because you realize that the suffering path was actually not that good. Maybe I was pretending, trying to control, trying this to be like this way, trying to be with this person, trying, or doing things that were not coming from my heart. Then you just get too tired. You just get like in the floor saying, maybe I am just trying to be right. Maybe I have no idea about anything. And maybe I was controlled by my mind. The mind is a great tool for practical purposes. But if you keep being controlled by your mind, you are not going to have the pleasure to know your real, authentic self, which is actually just the same as how you were when you were a tiny kid. You were able to just flow in a natural state like a naked baby. You were able just to smile and to stop pretending on having that butt closed. You just were, maybe I am just controlling or taking these drugs or doing all of this because I am just so afraid to be alone, or I'm just so afraid to feel all the pain that I felt when I was not accepted when I was a kid. But I just came to tell you here in this video that the mind is the one that is making you believe that if you don't follow the feeling path, you won't be alright. That is just a delusional thing. If you make the unknown step, if you make that jump, maybe you will realize, like the frog, that you can leave the control of the snake. Even if it hurts, you will have the pleasure to say to yourself, I'm going to be with me. If I am with me, who against me? The only thing that you're wanting, someone to console you from the suffering you had. But if you're not able to console yourself, how are you going to be at peace? Instead of following that path or trying to control or trying to sedate, the invitation throughout with this video is that let's make a promise to stop engaging and at the same time feeling so attached to our thoughts. Because actually your thoughts are the ones that are controlling us. You can love yourself and you can say to your thoughts, you know what? Enough is enough. Because for the ego, which is a character in here, enough is not possible because it always wants to investigate, it always wants to analyze to rule over you. If you say enough, Diana, it's enough. It will understand that it's a wonderful tool of the life and will work with life, not against life. I hope this tip works for you and for me, and let's see ourselves in the next video.